I was just kind of sitting there a little while ago talking to someone, and I asked them, why do people feel the need to defend billionaires and these like very large corporations? I've compared it to simping because the idea behind simping is like, oh, well, this man thinks if he defends this woman, then she's going to, do something with him, like go on a date or, whatever. But with these people that defend, again, the billionaires, the large corporations, I assume that they're aware that they're not going to get a check cut out to them or mailed their way or, offered a job. Just they know that when they go and they write this stuff in defense of them, that it's not going to yield a result that is beneficial to them whatsoever. Now, there was one guy I was talking to who said that the reason people do this is because they want to believe in the idea of the free market, and that, if I work as hard as, Musk or Trump or Ramaswamy, then I can also become just as wealthy, even though, as we've explained before, um, realistically, over the course of a person's lifetime, right, 30, 40, 50 years of working, they can accumulate enough wealth to possibly become a millionaire, even if it's on, some minimum wage job. It's really just having to do with the length of their time working, and then also the output of money, like what stuff they pay for, and if that doesn't exceed, like, the continued accumulation of higher amounts of wealth. So what we're getting at is that while it's possible for someone to become a millionaire, through just working and, getting different jobs and limiting the number of things they have to pay for each week or month, the process of becoming a billionaire tends to be a much sleazier, less honorable, more destructive path where there's a lot of layoffs and schemes and just stuff that we can make a whole separate video about. But what he told me is that, even in spite of these people accumulating wealth that many of us would agree is just too much goddamn money for one person to have, and certainly way more money than most people will ever have, regardless of how long they work. This guy told me that they believe that, oh, well, I can if I defend them, I'm standing up for this principle, this idea of making it big, right? And I said, even if you took that approach, some of the stuff that they get criticized for, I think is valid. If you're running a corporation where, again, $1 billion company, you're able to make all these different, whether it be restaurants or just different chains, right? There are these different franchises where they can go and make the same, like, for example, Starbucks, right? That's one where they're so well off, seemingly, right? But then they have to mess with their employees about a dress code, where they were talking about you have to wear a black t-shirt. And I was saying that for me, with most jobs, I don't work them long enough to see the changes in terms of something that was one way and then they made it another way. But for the, my past, most recent job, and being there for, what was it, 18 months, first being able to take home free food, and then they stopped that, and then, you were able to get food half off, and then they tried to tweak it to where you could only order one item and get it half off, and you had to pay full price for the other one. It's like, I saw that stuff, and again, it's the fact that something was one way for a time, and then they switched it up, and I think you rightfully get pissed off about it. If I was working at Starbucks, and for years I was able to wear different products that they sold me as long as they had the logo on it, and then they tell me, you can't wear this stuff that you bought for work because now we want to just have everyone wear black shirts, I think they have a right to be upset over that. And man, it's like, I was thinking about the guy that came on the video about commission-based jobs, and just how you really, like, when you read that stuff, and I still have the screenshots of it in my, man sacrifices himself video, but when you read the stuff that he wrote, you really would think this is a guy who has he's this excellent salesman. He could sell water to a desert, and like, even if you believe that, which I don't, it's always some faceless person that comes on here to start throwing themselves in the line of fire for these corporations. Even if you were to just believe he is this very successful, well-endowed person, it doesn't change the fact that in defending commission-based jobs, he lied like there was no tomorrow. I mean, he said that I was I just wasn't good at sales. It's like, dude, there was no metric to even show that I wasn't, because I wasn't terminated. I wasn't fired. I was with these places for so little an amount of time that I didn't even, in one place, get the chance to sell anybody a goddamn thing because I didn't go outside or go for their, canvassing stuff. And for the other one, I literally could not sell anything because I had yet to be entered into the system, which would allow me to process items. Then at one point he was saying, selling in the sun is not hard work, and even, and just completely ignored the fact that the actual issue was being expected to wear long sleeve shirts with a suit on top of that while it's 90 or 100 degrees. Just crazy stuff that he purposefully did not want to directly address or otherwise misrepresented. And it's just sad that, like, the whole idea of talking about jobs and employers and just all the different stuff related to working and the price of things, whatever. All the point of all this stuff is to have honest discussions where you can look at what someone is saying in full and then respond to it entirely. Like, I don't have any financial incentive to make up how crappy a lot of jobs and the people that run them are. I'm not financed by any unions. I'm not being slid coins by any third party entity. It's so, like, for me, I don't have an incentive or a reason to make any of this stuff up. With these guys, they're not, like, when they write these comments, you really would think they're getting paid for like the foolishness. Not because they're disagreeing, but because the comments are so like antagonistic and dodging of the actual point that's being made. Like, we talked about how there was this one guy that came on the Starbucks video and he was like, oh, well, these people need to learn real life skills. It's like, dude, the fact is, there are always going to be jobs for relating to making food, making drinks, delivering food. This is stuff that you're going to need people to do forever, because there's always going to be people that want something to eat, want something delivered to them, etc. And the idea that you can, like, assess a person's life skills on the basis of what type of job they have, I thought was absolutely insane. And it's sad, man. It's really, I really hate that a majority of people in the world are employees. And instead of standing with each other, and I'm not even asking for, like, solidarity in terms of, like, let's all go out and protest this building, or let's all gather around in a corner to do a sit-in at some, fast food place that's charging $16 for a goddamn burger. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just saying it's sad that people can't just get together and say, this is bad. This job right here. Yeah, they should not give their employees a single digit number of hours a week. That's disgusting. Billion-dollar company wants to scoff and scream at having to pay somebody $80 more a week. What the hell? But they don't do that. They will defend this stuff. I saw where, when I was at my job talking about how ridiculously overpriced the food there was, this guy's like, oh yeah, well, you can just go to the market. And of course, we've talked before about how expensive the stuff at the market can be as well. But that's an example. There was another guy where he started peddling the lines of the managers of that place. Oh, maybe if you learn how to do other things, they would give you more hours. And I was like, wow, if I learn how to do other things, they might give me 10 whole hours. And he was like, but it's a stable 10. And I was like, I almost wanted to laugh, because it's just the idea of, like, getting screwed by your job out of as much money as possible, right? Like, them cutting your hours in half or even more to not have to pay you an extra $4 an hour. And your recourse is to defend them, to say, oh yeah, well, I just have to jump through more hoops to get even less hours than I got before, because the main purpose of what they're doing is trying to pay me as little money as possible. Uh, and I'm going to defend them and make the person who wants to actually have a job that uses them more than once or twice a week sound like they're crazy. It's sad, man. And again, with the managers of that place, they're idiots, they're jerks, but like, okay, I get it. They're being given 40 hours a week, right? I understand where in that scenario you're going to be reluctant or otherwise just not have no incentive to speak out against the company that is paying you and paying you well. But if you're a guy who's working in one of these places and you're getting, again, 4 hours a week, 10 hours a week, I mean, why subject yourself to becoming their unofficial spokesman? Because it's like whatever they're giving you is really not that much damn money, especially when you consider that you can probably find a job in some other field that is much more inclined to pay you than whatever this place is doing. It's all just really sad that people do this stuff. And there are situations where I can be sympathetic towards a corporation. We were talking about how with Disney and the whole Jonathan Majors thing, where they couldn't have predicted that he was going to, beat up his girlfriend, and that caused them to have to change their whole plans for the MCU. So there's stuff where a company is genuinely not at fault, but when you're talking about some of the ways that things are structured, right? Just for example, again with this commission-based job, them having like a set number of sales they want you to make per day, and then also sending you back to these same locations where they've been there must be 15, 20 times in the last month. So of course there's not as many people that need this thing as they would have, if it were a brand new place. Like just stuff like that where I feel like you're set up to fail, and when you don't meet their unrealistic fantasy, they're going to lash out at you, even though it was their idea to have you go to that place and, circle the wagon again at somewhere that they've been to damn near a dozen or more times recently. And it's just that's why I was saying that's the stuff where it's really sad. Regular people are not able to admit, like, okay, this is a scam. We hire you, teach us a little bit of stuff, set you up to fail, try to like squeeze a whole bunch of money out of you to go buy some suits and ties and all the rest of the crap, and then throw you away and then go to the next person. And they're not cognizant of being able to acknowledge how wrong that is. Employers are not your friends, right? But they should have some basic accommodations for people, Like I don't think you should be able to just tell someone, "Hey, person that works at this place that makes food all goddamn day, we know that we're going to throw this stuff in the trash can if nobody eats it, and that we could theoretically give you this to take home and actually have something to eat, but nah. Hey, person who's working at this coffee place, yeah, we know that we told you could wear this, that, but now we want you to wear black shirts, so just throw away all your stuff that you bought to work, wear to work. Hey, person that is outside selling things, we want you to meet this specific number of sales each day, but we're going to keep sending you to the same goddamn locations that we've been to over and over again, where naturally there's going to be a lot less people inclined to buy this stuff." It's like, why can't regular people just come out and say, "That's screwed up, that's wrong, that's messed up, that's not fair"? Again, it doesn't mean you have to go and donate to the person. It doesn't mean you have to stand in some, protest line. But it's like just writing a sentence. "Hey, man, I agree. This is crazy." They can't even do that. I told the tale, and we'll close out with this. I told the tale of like, with this last job, how once I started getting my one shift a week, I stopped saying hello to the dingbat big lip manager. And she was the second to last shift I had. They're talking about, we'll issue this threat or this warning, and if you get 3 of these, you're out of here. And I basically just kind of like capitulated a little bit because I didn't want to have her make me sign something. And then they were basically saying that it's crazy how, to me, they could get more, like in their minds, I should care about a job where I can't make anything off of it, damn near. A job where my hours are so minimum, so low, that sometimes I forget that I'm even working at all. And I have oh, he's mean. It's like, that's not the goddamn point. If you work somewhere for a year with no complaints about behavior at all, and then suddenly, once they start chopping up your hours to where it's a single digit every week, you're pissed and you don't want to say hello to anybody. It's like, is that really a hard conclusion to draw of where there would be no incentive to care anymore? But again, even in real life, people were like making it seem as if I was doing something wrong. It's like, no, to hell with a job that is not going to allow me to take care of myself, because their main purpose is not trying to actually sell anything or, be a business place. They are just like all these other stupid restaurants, pricing themselves out of the market, and they're trying to meet their profit margin by chopping up the hours of the people that work for them. And I said before, I got the trio of trash, right? You have crappy job, doesn't want to have use you. In other places that are jobs that are garbage as well, or not hiring, right? And you just the whole runaround, and then no support system. So it's all just like designed to lead to my demise, like just like that. But again, it's like I'm not asking for people to donate. I'm not asking for people to come over to my state and stand in some protest line. It's literally just, hey, that's wrong, that's messed up. It's not your fault that your job is not selling as much crap as they used to, so they're gonna chop up your hours. Like, but again, even that is too much for people to be able to admit. And this is why I said we live in a rotten society, because there is something wrong with a person who wants to work having a hard time finding a job, and being told by others that he's doing something wrong, when he knows for a fact that the last place he worked cut up his hours for something that was out of his control. That these other places play games with so many other people, that there's whole genres of people talking about their jobs, laying them off unfairly, going to a job interview and they don't even show up to their own scheduled crap. It's sad that people can't just acknowledge that things are screwed up in the United States, around the world. Just It's just rotten.